So you may know that I like languages a lot, and I study them a lot, mainly because um, I like history. I like history, so I started to learn more about the history of languages. And over time, I just liked languages a lot, so I started learning more about languages and their history. So I think a good video for that I'm going to make right now is I brought my whiteboard over here because I am very tired, so I'm not going to be all the way over where I normally am. Hold on, let me just move this. My dog is trying to steal my burden. Um, that's better. So let's talk about the history of our own alphabet. I'm just gonna say right now, I'm not entirely sure where lowercase comes from. It was a weird evolutionary thing of different cursive forms of languages. However, I do know where uppercase came from. Take the A. You can't see that. A. So A was it's a very well-known thing. You take an ox head. I'll draw it as close to my memory as I can. I just drew a straight up whole entire ox. And that is a hieroglyph for an ox called the Aleph. Now the Aleph is it then evolved for Proto-Semitic, I think. Where then let me try and remember what it looked like. Ringo. Yeah, so it kind of got it was a more of a simplified whole. Simplified bowl, which evolved into the this, because you would take a bowl and then these things became the little leggies of an A, and I don't know, maybe the mouth, maybe no, it was the top of the head that caused this middle line. And it was this way because it faced this way, so this faced this way. But how did it get here? When people were carving and melting things into wax, it was easier for them to actually do it where they would just draw it like this and then flip the whole thing. It was easier for them to do it like that. So over time it just stayed flipped like that, and they made it more refined, so the Six didn't point out. That's A. I don't know how I've done this for 3 minutes already. Just look at B. I'll be honest, I don't know the hieroglyphics for each of these letters. I should have probably thought of that. But I hold on. Sorry, I was interrupted. I actually do know where, like, the actual hieroglyph. I was just thinking in my head, that doesn't really look like a B. I don't know if it evolved there, so I'll show that though. Alright. So they had a hieroglyph that would represent a house. It was really more of this, but people could have written it like that, and it was kind of just more unified, looked more like a letter over time, until then you can see how it's now all the way up. So then this is just evolutionary speaking. We then got this, which I guess in some sort of way evolved to this, which was this. A lot of languages had this letter. It's in Rune, it's in old italic script. It was how the Greeks originally wrote it. Though it's not Phoenician, so it's very weird for them to all have it like that. Sorry, I just looked at my notes and I see that actually the way this turned into this was turn it upside down. You then got a way of making it more unified. That. And then you see, boom, boom. Now it's there. And then it's more curvy. Because that's easier to put into wax, which when the Romans went from old italic to modernizing it, they did the Greek version, because they did that a lot. I don't know if my voice is quiet. I just got quiet all of a sudden. My dog is on my foot. I don't think I know where our letter for C comes from, because I look at the Romans did not have a C until they Romanized everything. They didn't have it until they went from this to this. Well, it's not this. That's how the Greeks wrote it originally. It's more like this. Or maybe it was this. I think it was that. So it was then Romanizing it. So I don't entirely know where it came from. However, I do think I know, because a lot of languages, like, because Cyrillic is a language made for Bulgarian and Russian until it turned into more Slavic things coming from all of them, and made the Cyrillic alphabet made by a guy with the name of Cyrillic, something similar to that. But yeah. So in Cyrillic, there was the letter S, because Cyrillic was based off of Greek, and the way you would write an S would be like, there's a capital sigma, lowercase sigma, and then if you ended a sentence with a sigma, it was like that. There's a lot of things that ended with the sigma, so I guess that's why. I don't know. It would be pretty good if you didn't have that. But you see, what happened in Russian was that somehow there's a lot of letters in Russian that just look Latin. They're not, though. Not a single bit of it is. Apparently. I don't entirely believe that. Maybe they just needed a few Latin things. I tried to find a better position for writing. I couldn't. So, in Russian, for the letter S, you literally just draw a C. Printing? Literal printing press thing. It's just the letter C. They even call it a C, I guess because it went from sigma as an accent, and then simplified C. Just like how we called it. So I think that since it's called the same thing, and it looks the same way, we evolved it the same way. And it was originally just for the letter S. Because I think even in Coptic, when evolving from Greek, they just put a C looking thing. So I think we just straight up went Romanizing it, making it more modern in Latin. We needed the we just took that thing because they didn't have anything that looked like an S, except for the fact that probably evolved the same way as an S. But still, we take that, get rid of the tail. C is a very uncomfortable position. Let me just see if there's a better way of doing this. No, I don't think there is. Damn. Okay. This is terrible. It seems more like just adjusting a whiteboard way more than history. I'm gonna have my hand be on the bottom the whole time then. So, what I think is that we just took C, had an equivalent, and then originally there was no G in Latin. There was a letter for G and K. Into over time, it was actually A. Sorry, they flipped it. This was the actual way to have it, even though this was only on the second line, since it would switch from writing to here to here. But this is how they said the actual alphabet was A, B, maybe K. Which I guess when they had K, maybe they thought about making it look more modern by doing this or this, and then they saw the sigma and they were just like, kind of looks like this. Somehow kept more angular for K to make it different from the C, and then C just became this without the extra line because they didn't have that from Greek. That's what I think. And so now it's K and S. And it took its place and moved somewhere else. I don't know how it got to the place it is now. But anyways, we got D. Originally, there was just this very complex hieroglyph of a door. It takes a bit to draw. It's a very oddly specific thing of writing it. You know, way more than a lot of other things. And they simplified it to just that didn't really happen, but in evolution it must have went from this to this until it got to the actual letter this. Dalet. And then just I don't know. And then they went which really this came from which I don't know how it got slanted, but I guess this somehow just went to the side and did this, or yeah, or this went to the side, got simplified. These things collided and made D to be looking the way it is. I have a very bad marker eraser. So now let's go on to E. No one really knows if the original letter was an E sound or an H sound. It's called either the he or the he. Some people pronounce it as an H, some people pronounce it as an E. I think the type of E was not E. Hold on. I think I might know where that's from, but I might be thinking of G. Sorry, I have to keep looking. I know the actual hindsight. I know more about Phoenician. It's very strange, because I know about all of these things, and I keep doubting it. Like, how is that an E? How is that a B? It was person. I thought person was G, to be honest. So, you draw a person can mean many things. I think that's a hieroglyph for joyous, but then it got simplified to a stick figure. Which I really don't know how it turned into a rush of things. So it's them. Boom, 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 and you can see why I thought wrong. But yeah, then this got to here, which you could make it look fancier for a lowercase version by going like this, which then you get the gist. And that was originally but it really could just be either E originally, which is why RE can do either thing, and Greek doesn't do that. They have two different sounds. They have the epsilon for and the eta for E. On to the next letter. A lot of these I don't know the hieroglyph. I don't think I know this one at all. I do know Phoenician, as I've said. I just wanted to make sure I could get the whole story, so I looked up what it could have come from. They are showing a bunch of different letters, actually, though. So I don't know what that's about. So I guess we're skipping the hieroglyph for F, and we're going straight to Phoenician. Well, yeah, so we had N, and then we had the duplicate M. We had F, duplicate M, and now we have B, duplicate D, duplicate Q to some, duplicate P. Things go hand in hand all the time, so you had F, and then eh. They went hand in hand, that's why they're next to each other. So it went from kind of looks like that one runic letter, and then very simple. This should not have been 12 minutes so far. So let's talk about G. So the way the Greeks got to the letter gamma was that it was originally for G, you would do a lot of Phoenician things looked like that though. I think I might know what the G was in hieroglyph. Okay, I might be wrong. Yeah, no hieroglyph, just this, just Phoenician, I guess. Proto-Semitic didn't do anything about it, I guess, I don't know. Then, and, you know, I don't entirely know what happened. I see that's how the gamma showed up. But a lot of these things are saying that, you know, this one thing says it went, boom, 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 which could explain the sounds of C, but I don't think it's, you know, I don't think I really thought about G very much at all. However, I'm actually seeing something. The whole time I was thinking of the insular G, but we're talking about uppercase, but it's showing that, like, this, the gamma was able to make this, and then there was boom, boom, make it curvy for the Latin cursive, Roman cursive. So we got this. Sorry, I did not mean to do that. But boom, which is from Yog closing it, since it made the G sound sometimes, and also the Y sound, which can sometimes be due to accent J. So it evolved to this, making the G and J sound, but then they just made Y for the original Y sound. So we have this now. I'm just gonna say possibly like this, and then yara, yara. There's G, and I'm just gonna say right now, I think the fancy G comes from this. If you don't know what I mean by fancy G, I feel like the fancy G has something to do with Sigma as well. Sigma evolving in the G sound the same way that C did with K. So then we had Sigma, except boom. What? Wait, hold on. Yeah, I was right. I feel like it comes from this in some sort of way. So let's see that. Oh, it went back. Except no, G must have a circle on the top now, because most letters do. So then we got to this, and then we got to this, then this or this in simplification, we got G. really don't like how I'm explaining this. I really thought this would be a very good... My thumb hurts. I really thought this would be a good, informative video. It seems weird. Slight information of the alphabets. Let's go to H. So originally, and then italic script in Latin for the Romans, and then it got simplified. H. I feel like the only reason we write it like this is, how do you write a C? Damn. You probably don't write it like this. However, just think about the printing press. So, except for some reason, we see fancy fonts all the time when learning about new languages. So I guess a bunch of stock images of alphabets showed this, and people went from writing I's like this to this, because you would always see a little to smoothen something out at the top instead of just being a big old line. So we got something like that. Nope. Sorry. It would be a bit smaller. We saw that and thought, oh, it's supposed to be like this, but they made it fancy. And then we did this. However, it was originally just this. Like most keyboards do it. It was just this. I think I know which hieroglyph it is. Okay, I was entirely wrong. I don't even know what that is. Shit, hold on. Okay, I was very wrong. Sorry. So we got this. So just imagine. The language had this. It was just a line, so simple. So the next evolutionary language did this. Very great. Proto-Sinaitic. Phoenician. And then Italic got this somehow later on from Phoenician. And so we made Old Italic made Italy for the Latins were there, so they made the language of Latin, which the Romans discovered, so they did that. And then the Romans, in carving, made it fancy. And over time, people did this. There's not really much to it. It's just, they did this, so they did this, and then. That's the whole thing. That's the entirety of I. And also, it originally just made the I sound, but it evolved to I somehow. I don't really know how. This thing is exactly like I, except minus the I sound. The iota, it can make I and E. A lot of times E I've discovered. And yet I still use it in phonetics as being just being I. But the letter J, imagine this, you don't have a J letter. However, you got that because of the yolk. You accidentally pronounced the Y as a J due to your accent. You want the Y back. You made a Y. But you need the J as its own letter, because you can't always know just because of the G. Well, let's take the I, usually shown with the Y sound. It can E, U, I, and when it's like yun, there was a Y there. So, the Y, kind of like a J with the accent, you just take the I. Fancy. Maybe nasalize it a bit because of that. Yeah. So then, K. Okay, this was not a joke. I thought several times in my head. You see, K was for a while this to this, which, as you know, yeah, they're the same. As you know, well, really, this one evolved from this. They got rid of that extra line, connected it there, stayed the same, flipped it because they wanted to only write in one way for Latin. So this is how it is Latin. And then instead of being this whole time I was just writing it somewhat quicker. It's like that, but then they made it get the height. That's K. L. So, ooh, this is quite the interesting one. This thing, people keep saying it's this. It's not this. This is where P comes from. That's the bladder. It was this. In fact, before Greek got more modernized, and it was all stiff lines, because that was easier for... I think the Romans just simplified the B on their own. Sorry, I made misinformation. It was easier to do this in clay, not this. So the Greeks actually wrote the L, the lambda, like this. Not this, not this, they had this. I don't know where these came from. So we had this, it's the exact same. And then simpler, this. It's a corner now. Very simple. Like I said before, there was Phoenician. We had M because of N. That's why they're next to each other. They're so similar. And they actually did come about their ways separately, but so did the B and the P and the D and the Q. They all came separately, and then over time they wanted it to look nicer and neater, so they made it similar. So we'll be doing these two at the same time. This one, boom, 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 boom. That's why it looks so long with each thing, except it's less, because it's simpler. And this, boom, snake. Which then, boom, boom, boom. Some of them wrote like this, some of them wrote M's like that. That's how Greek was. They just, you don't need to pay attention to the head. So then, that's just that. This thing, go, simplify it, go, M. And then we got dum, boom, 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 flip, as I said. And we got a line, simplified. Now they don't look as similar, but at the same exact time. I'd still prefer to call the M a double N. No, I wouldn't. This probably hurts people who normally use a whiteboard. O is very interesting. It was, you draw an eye normally as just a circle on a person. And you'd probably think back then people didn't think cartoonishly. They would have to draw to imagine it as a person. Well, this was an eye, not the letter. Except it was like this. Realistic eye from a hieroglyph that's simplified to like a da-da-da. We forget this part, we get blum. And then for so long, blum, blum, blum. Even the Omicron, blum. Except blum for O and omega for Greek. I actually don't know where that came from. I guess they just wanted them separate sounds, like how most vowels there have singular things for each letter. P. It could be this. It could be this. They evolved like this, and they're just boom 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 boom. Q, I actually forgot to say. No, never mind. But anyways, a Q, proto-synatic. Shit, let me just, yeah, proto-synatic. And then we, just imagine an evolution. Boom. And now we just plump. Don't know how that happened, but it did. I do. Just blum. Blum. Blur. Then we have R. The R, I'm sorry, but, this little, there used to be this letter. I kept trying to remember what it originates from. I don't know. It's just there. It looks like an R. In fact, in Old English, there was the R. However, this, not an R, that's an old S, Sonic. R, where it came from, it was a face. That's an eye, not a mouth. Which, there we go. Now it's easier to figure out. Simplify. 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 And, oh shit, I'm trying to remember. Right. Oh, I was trying to... I don't think I'm dyslexic, but I'm looking at this chart. I was making sure I got this right, because I just have this here, and every once in a while I glance at it. I know R entirely, because I used to talk about Old Italic all the time. And it kept looking like this thing was saying S, even though I'm just like, no, it isn't. But yeah, this is R. And then it went the other way. That's why the Greeks have a P as the R sound. And then we just, well, made it cooler, because we already had P. Which actually, this isn't how it happened. Something happened. Because at some point, the Old Italic was actually like this for a D, while this was R. But then we thought, yeah, put the stem. Think about the stem because of the Phoenicians. That looks like a P. Fancy, yeah. I'm gonna look back at this in the future, not 10 years. In 2 days, I'm gonna hate myself for doing this stuff. So, now this, which comes from some hieroglyphs, which later evolved to be like this, which can be S or Sh if you want to specify. This, or you put the dot here, or maybe it's not that, and it's the, I don't remember. That's Hebrew. Except we... And then, like I said, it was easier to do some of them by flipping them, and then flipping the whole tablet after you're done doing it. So they flipped this. It just stayed like that because it was easier to just not flip the thing. So they did that. And then... Well, Actually, let me just show you. Wow. We got an S. S. And then we got this little thing. Very basic shape. Very basic shape. This happened somehow. And then we got italic. And then we're back to this. And somehow lowercase went back to this again. It's likely because you'll accidentally get a little stem and try to write capital. So I didn't even erase the S when I did all this stuff, but and then so at some point we got this. It's a Y. This is not supposed to go straight up, I'm sorry. Y. And then it's simplified. You do one line. Yeah, you do that, and then it just becomes this. And some people like to write it like this. They're the same letter, and they did fricative and not fricative. W, v, w, because w is a sound of the U. So, oo at some point, v and w. That's what this thing did, all of them. But it was mainly U. However, at some point it turned into more curvy, and then this would be into U. And then we kept this for V. And this could have been W. However, at some point they didn't want that. So they started doing this as a placeholder until they found a cool letter. Or they did this, because they were still the same letter at the time. This didn't entirely happen yet, so they did that until they could find a good letter. They went to the rune place again. They found Win. It's called Win. They took that, they Romanized it a bit more. And yeah, this was used as W, except at some point they were too used to this, so they just stopped using it. Looked too much like a P anyways, so they didn't care. They barely even had that. However, there is several manuscripts from back then that does use that. So it was popular for some amount of time. X, basic shape, just kind of showed up sometimes. I guess the U at some point when it was like this kind of just stayed like that for a while, because it could make that sound sometimes. Very rare though. So they just thought, make that sound, yeah, put it there. And the Z, if you look at an alphabet that's unnamed of Old Italic script, you might think this is I. It's not. It's Z. That's Old Italic. It was the alphabet of Latin originally, and then they just made it one whole line that you could do, and yeah, we got Z. And I do also want to say, earlier when I said I might have known F, and then it was completely wrong, I was thinking this shape, kind of like a lollipop, and I was just like, I keep doubting myself with these hieroglyphs. It probably is. And then I looked it up. Nothing showed this. Now there's another chart. This is here. I knew it. And I could have really done a better job of doing this video. I don't think anyone's gonna see this part at all. I think you clicked off a while ago to go find some other chart. Unless you stayed because you scrolled far enough until you found this, because there's no way you're gonna get recommended this normally. So yeah, there's that. But still, who's watching this? Why would you watch this? I got like 2 subscribers and I don't know who they are. I don't know why they even subscribed. So, I'm just gonna say. Look. You have no clue what that says.